welcome to the City Council, Lathrup Village City Council special meeting for today, Monday, January 31st. Calling the meeting to order, and I'll ask our interim clerk for the roll call, please.
Mayor Garrett,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Present.
Councilmember Jennings,
Present.
Councilmember Canes, Councilmember Miller,
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I would invite everyone that's in the audience and on council to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, it's me, Phil.
Okay. Next up, we take a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Need a second?
Support.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion of the agenda? I think we need to add something to the agenda.
You have to amend the agenda to include Black History resolution.
And you're gonna have that as H or turn G, make that G and then make the last one H.
That's fine.
Okay. So I think we need to actually accept it or amend the motion, please.
I'll amend my motion to approve the agenda with the addition of G, item G for Black History Month, and moving the current item G to item H.
Need a second?
Support.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further detailed discussions on it? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes, Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
motion to approve the agenda as amended.
thank you. Next, we have the public comments for items on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And per Robert Rules of Order, there will be no dialogue or debate with members of the public from the council. Yet council members can respond during the council comments towards the end. Is there anyone that wants to give a public comment for anything that's on the agenda?
We do have a few individuals in the meeting place, so.
So if we have people in the
Are
meeting
they-
place, if they want to come forward to speak.
Yeah, please, thank you.
While they wait for that, excuse me, for a second, I'll get us water.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so next we're gonna be doing the action request for consideration and approval. First up is the KD Submit Contract Extension Construction Year 2022.
Yes, so as you know, one of the many projects that began last year was the sidewalk replacement program. Year one focused in the neighborhood south of 696 and then extended along Southfield Road. Unfortunately, due to a variety of reasons, including weather, additional work, and the lateness of start. All of year one was not completed. So while KD Cement does have work to finish right off the bat for year one, their contract, they bid out, there's an extension for years 2 and 3. So what you have before you is the request to extend their construction contract for year 2. And year 2 work, there is a map. There is a map in your packet. Year 2 work is shaded in, it's kind of hard to see, blue, and that is predominantly on the in the neighborhoods west of Southfield Road. We also have Scott Ringler here from Triple Substrate to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Need someone to make a motion, approval or not approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the year 2 KD Cement contract extension for construction year 2022.
Need a second? Any second? Well, then that's gonna fall dead, then, right, if you don't have a second. Right?
Second,
Correct.
Pardon me?
I said second.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion regarding it?
Yeah, I mean, Scott, can you speak to the quality and the satisfaction of the construction that we've had?
Yeah, so KD Cement didn't necessarily get a crazy late start, but we kind of got a late start. I'm sorry, to the whole program itself. They started, I think it was shortly after Labor Day. They worked diligently. They had some weather issues, and not just rain, but once it rained, then a lot of the green belts got really wet and soggy. So instead of tearing up green belts, getting into the sidewalks, they just delayed the work. We had some extra work included with them. So, you know, overall, they showed up to work whenever they could. They worked pretty diligently. We think they did a good job. They were pretty quick doing some restoration. I know they do have a punch list still to finish. They have some work along Southfield corridor and the east side of Southfield to finish early this spring. So their game plan is to finish that by June and run right into this next the option year.
So they will be done in 2023?
Well, so we bid out 2 option years. So this is the first option year. If we're satisfied with their work this year, we'll come back to council next January, February to approve the second option year.
Okay.
Or you know, request approval of that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes. Councilmember Miller,
Yes,
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
motion carried.
thank you. Next, we have a presentation of the American.
I'm sorry, I neglected to make the separate motion. There is actually 2 motions that need to be approved for this. So we do need to approve the year 2 district, again, that's identified in the map. Not that anyone, so that is, like I said, I need a motion to approve that district. It is the west, the neighborhoods on the west side of Southfield Road. From approximately, let's see, what is that? That is, it's from 12 miles south to just south of San Diego.
I'll make a motion to approve the year 2 district for 2022.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion around that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Canes,
Go ahead.
you're talking this part, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're referring to. I'll let the same. Okay, yeah.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the American Cell Tower WS Wayne State University presentation. I don't think, there's not a, we are discussing, okay, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just a-
Sorry. Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Patrick Gossman is here. And Patrick, you do have the capability of sharing your screen for the presentation.
Okay, let's see how we do with that. Let's make sure I've got the right thing up. Put it on slideshow. There we are. And of course, once I do that, I lose the ability to say share screen. So let me go back. Unless you have the ability to say share screen, right.
They all have, they do all have a copy of your presentation.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, now that I have it up, I can't get rid of it. That's what's funny about it. There we are. All right, let's try share screen here. Then we'll know we're on the same one. Okay. Allows Zoom. Okay. Oh, this is nuts. Okay, you all have a copy of it. Why don't we just go through it rather than waste your time? We'll just go to the outline here. Here's what I look to cover. Yeah, just give you a little of my background so you know where I'm coming from and what I'm doing. I was contacted by Bruce Cantor to say, hey, we've got this thing. What's this about 5G? I have some knowledge in that arena. And so we walked through some things. And so that's why I'm here today, to share what I know, and then reaction to the lease that you're in right now, what your options are, some considerations, and then see, some suggestions as to how you might move forward. I won't read all of this stuff to you. The bottom line is I'm not an attorney. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a lease valuation expert, but I've got 30 some years in this space as far as spectrum and towers, and because I've had the lease space, and I also know a lot of people in the business, and that actually turned out to be very helpful as far as looking at what your current situation is. Your current lease, I did get a copy of the document that was sent to you by Dr. Is it Theriot? I don't know how you pronounced her name, but I understand she's no longer with you. But in looking at that document and looking at the contract that you're currently in, apparently you're in the last 5-year extension term, which means this lease can come to an end next February, if you so desire. So you could tell American Tower, nah, we're not extending the lease, you're done, see you, goodbye. That I find very interesting, and I'll point out later, I think that gives you a tremendous amount of leverage. American Tower, in what they sent to Dr. Terrio was, well, the tower's worth less because of 5G. We want to lower the lease payments and CPI increases. And we'll talk a bit about 5G in a minute and that impact. You could just say no changes to the existing lease. It would continue on an annual basis, but that won't help American Tower. You could accept their offer of lower lease terms, or you could basically bargain with them to say you want higher ones, or you could go with a lease buyout. Well, here's my reaction. Because you have in the contract, as I read it, and again, I'm not an attorney, but this is what I read, you have the right to terminate the lease in 2023 with 6 months notice. That has to be a very scary prospect for American Tower. They have 2 people on the tower right now, AT&T and T-Mobile. They don't want to lose them. That, would hurt their financial bottom line. But they need a long-term lease or a buyout to cement their access to the tower so that they can enable contracts with AT&T, continue a contract with T-Mobile, or get other carriers on there such as Verizon and Dish. Now, it appears, given what I saw in the note from Dr. Terrio, that they offered $300,000 to buy out the lease, and she was authorized by the council to go back with an offer of 1.2 million, at which point American Tower came back and said, well, how about 825, assuming that they can keep T-Mobile on the tower. That was, I would say, a brilliant move on your part as far as what you came back with, and pretty amazing, actually. As I look at this, and we'll get down to it, they came back, the offer they came back with to buy out the lease is very impressive. Now, another advantage to American Tower, not only with having, rights to the tower and the property for some time, is that they can get contracts and be comfortable in that. But also they understand they get certain tax advantages because it's a capital expense rather than operating expense, paying monthly leases. Now let's get to 5G really quick. 5G isn't necessarily decreasing the value of your tower. In fact, 5G is increasing the value of a number of towers and buildings, and a number of people are putting up towers because of 5G. A colleague of mine is in the business of buying towers because of 5G, and he's been in this business for 30 some years as well. The thing is, it's all about location, location, location. And given the reaction from American Tower, I'd say that Lathrup Village is in a very good location. Now, yes, they did talk about the fact that, oh, well, they're going to light poles and phone poles, for 5G. And so they don't need the high towers anymore. Well, that's, I'd say, disingenuous, just to be polite. 5G plans call for carriers to use low, mid-band, and high-band frequencies. So they tune in down low near where AM radio is, and they tune in high up where microwave is, and then there's stuff in the middle. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of antennas put up on phone poles, but those signals only travel short distance. We're talking hundreds of feet. The low and mid-band frequencies travel much longer distances and work directly with 5G devices, or they can be the backhaul. They can feed the phone pole radios. So don't let anybody tell you that your tower is necessarily worth less. I did do some looking to see, what other people are saying about the value based on 5G. Steel in the Air is one company out there that talks about cell tower lease rates. And they actually saw an increase in 2021 because of 5G. Now, interestingly enough, the average ground lease was $15,600 a year. The average rate in Miami and Washington, D.C., according to them, was $21,000 a year. Lathrup Village is currently getting $21,159. And if you stayed with the current contract, and I would expect about a 15.5% CPI increase, you'd be at $24,439. But that year-to-year increase, American Tower cannot live with that. They need long-term, and that's why I think they offered what they did. Now, on the lease option, going to that slide, the new values, they want $200 a month less, down to $1,563.29 a month. And really, it should be about $500 more than that. And if you could negotiate that rate, 30 years of payments with a 10% escalator every 5 years, would total $943,000. But what's the present value of such payments over 30 years? Now, I will not claim I'm an expert with this, but I did look and see, in my understanding, looking at it, even if you increased payments every 5 years by a maximum of 10%, and using just a 6% discount rate, the present value of that $942,000 would be $542,000. That's a lot less than 825. And the other thing is, with a lease, if things go south, they lose T-Mobile or AT&T, can't get anybody else on there, they also have a right to cancel a lease if they end up with a different site that they figured would serve them better. So lease payments aren't guaranteed. Another reason to consider going with a buyout. Now, the buyout option, and when I talk with my friend who's in this business, he said the usual buyout offer is 10 to 15 times the current lease payment. And I saw someplace else online that the average is, right now is about 14 times the current lease payment. Well, at current lease payments of $21,159, it made sense that American Tower came out, their initial offer was $300,000, about a factor of 14. But they increased it to $825. Well, why? Well, that's because they don't have a lease after February of next year. So they do need to cement this. That's 39 times the current lease rate. My friend was bowled over on this. And basically what this says is American Tower really wants to stay and they want to buy. So what considerations for the council? You have the right to mount your own antenna on the current monopole. Do you do so now? Might you wish to in the future? Possible uses for first responder or community broadband. This is something I would keep in mind if you do opt to sell and go to just a ground lease. Keep that in mind. You might want to keep that right. Can you extract larger payments from American Tower? Get a higher buyout price, get higher lease payments if you'd like lease payments rather than a buyout. Would you like some share in revenue? And I put this down because right now there are two tenants on that tower, AT&T and T-Mobile. Well, what if American Tower can add Verizon or add Dish or somebody else that comes along and increase their revenue? Might you want to have something in the deal that says, well, if you do better, we do better? Now, I put here, might you consider hiring a ground lease agent, somebody who is in this line of business to represent you? I'd recommend that because again, I'm not an expert. I share with you what I do know, but I would not be the one to negotiate a lease for you. And there are some out there that just charge an hourly rate. But one of them, at least I saw, perhaps some percentage of any extra funds they can extract when they negotiate for you. So that's something you might want to look into. And the other piece on this is to make sure that you have proper protection in any agreement that you do sign. As far as what somebody might build, can American Tower come back and say, oh, well, we're putting up a 550-foot tower because we want to put more people up there. The current lease suggests that they can just go to the current 100-foot height, but again, they will probably provide you with a new document, and you want to be careful about that. The buyout, getting to recommendations, the buyout option looks like a great deal at $825,000. However, it was interesting in the letter to Dr. Terrio that they said, well, assuming that they can keep T-Mobile on the tower. Well, I would strongly suggest that you not have any sort of contingency here, but just say, no, here's what you're going to pay. Because even if you don't keep T-Mobile, you've got the ability to get Verizon or Dish Network. Dish has to cover 70% of the population in the United States by 2023. So they are under pressure to get out there and build out. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if American Tower has been talking to Dish already. So I would say you want to get a solid lease offer from American Tower if you wish to go this route. I would say you don't want to wait on this because American Tower needs surety so they can go and talk to T-Mobile and say, yeah, we're going to get this. You want them to get their revenue so that they can give you the best offer. So you've got an option to proceed with negotiations on your own. I don't know how much Dr. Terrio did with them directly. All I have is the one, letter that she got back from them and the document that she provided to you last October. Or you might consider hiring a ground lease consulting company to make sure you got the best deal and the best protections under a sale. And as I said before, consider continued access to the tower for your own purposes should you decide you want to do something for Lathrup Village. And then I say, remember, as I understand it, at least, you can expect this to be a 60-year deal if you do sell the rights. I did some looking around, and because I checked on some of these folks, I'm now getting bombarded by emails and calls and what have you from some of these consultants wanting to assist. Vertical Consultants is probably the most aggressive of the bunch, but you do want somebody that knows what leases are going for elsewhere. What I saw was Steel in the Air. They're talking about kind of standard rates. Vertical Consultants might do better for you, but again, I don't know. This would be something where you'd want to talk with these folks and see what it is that you might work out with them. So that's what I have for you. This is all free of charge, and anything that's free, well, you take it for what it's worth. But I went at this as if I was advising my own institution what they ought to do. And so I hope this is helpful to you.
It was extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question though. When you're saying about keeping or have a clause in the contract to mount our own antenna, you're saying that we should put a clause that if we decide to sell, you're saying to put a clause into the contract so we can go back later if we need to put mount our own antenna for the first responders if necessary.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. If I'm assuming they were going to give you an addendum to the current lease if you went with extending the monthly payments. But my guess is they will look at a new contract if they're just saying, hey, we've got rights to this property for the next 60 years. So if they give you a new contract, you're going to want to make sure you got protections in there. And yeah, it's quite possible you might want to do your own community broadband at some point in the next number of years, or set up a first responder system, or public safety, whatever. I mean, they've got a 100-foot tower there, and in the contract that that still exists, it was required to be able to hold more antenna on it than what the initial push was from American Tower, or whatever the Detroit SMSA that assigned the original lease. So it should have some capacity, and there's a clause in there that says you have the right to put stuff up there. So I wouldn't want to lose that. You just never know, especially when you're talking about 30, 60 years, because I think that's what they were calling for, was a 60-year time frame.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Thanks again, Patrick. This was exactly what we needed. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. You made me think of a few questions. None of them are groundbreaking, but I was curious. You said that Dish is required to cover 70% of the U.S. by 2013. What is that their own? Their own goal, or are they being driven to that by 2023? What did I say? 13?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay.
Yeah, so
I
what's
figured.
the driving force behind that?
Well, Dish had purchased a number of licenses some time back with the idea that they were going to build a network. And they have done some fancy footwork messing around, because when you get licenses for spectrum from the FCC, they expect you to build something and make use of them. Dish has not. Okay. And they managed to squeak through when T-Mobile and Sprint merged with some kind of deal and where T-Mobile ends up managing a network for Dish. Although recently I saw something that says that'll end and AT&T is then going to become their manager for a network. But the bottom line is they had a deadline of building out years earlier. That got extended. They have to have 20% of the US population covered this year and 70% covered next year. Well, that means they got to build something. And that means they need towers. And so my guess is there's probably another tenant out there that American Tower would find very attractive.
Thanks. And then is there a limit to how many vendors can be on a tower? Is there a physical limit to that?
Physical limit, yes. You talk about wind loading. You put stuff up there, how much can that tower handle? I have no information on how strong that tower is, what the wind load limit is. And the higher up you put something, the more the wind affects it. If they put stuff down below what's up there now, they might be able to add some more. So I don't have that information as to what they can handle or what they can't. But there's no law against having more on the tower. And I'm sure you've seen a number of towers that look like half a city mounted up there. So yeah.
Okay, and then you said you had a lot of ground lease consultants contacting you. Could you forward the list of those to Susie in case we decide to go that route? Oh,
It's three in the
Yeah.
presentation.
were those the ground lease consultants or was
Yeah.
I looked at this, right?
No, there's,
I guess I didn't realize they looked at ground lease.
here, it's the vertical,
Yeah.
it's still in here.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this is my thought to the council, is just to have Susie or I think it would be Susie to contact the three to get a quote from the three of them, and then we can expand from there if those, if that doesn't work.
And then my last question, Patrick, is how long do you think, I mean, so obviously if we're gonna, if we're gonna get a ground consultant, that's gonna take a little bit of time. We're a city body, so we don't move the fastest, right? I mean, what do you think that the time frame is here for, I mean, I know you said earlier in the slide that, we should act fairly soon. What's your definition of soon?
Well, here's the thing. I went out to the website for the folks that I listed for you, a few consultants, and I would suggest if Ms. Deck goes out there that she might go to celltowerleaseexperts.com and fill out their form. And one question that she can answer truly that I would have answered falsely, it got down to, well, are you the owner of this property? Well, I'm not, so I couldn't say that. And at that point they said, well, we can't show you anything more, but they have been calling me. But she could go through that. I think she could get some information pretty quickly from these folks as to what they might do for you and at what cost. So it really falls down to, how quickly you can put some time into this. And as far as cutting a deal, I think, at some point, you do need to let American Tower know that you're interested in proceeding. I think that's the main thing. And you can say, hey, it'll take us a little while to get some stuff through the council, that sort of thing. But I don't think, do you have to go through a bunch before you can hire a consultant? Is that going to be a lengthy process on your end?
Maybe.
And I could have something for you this month for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
One of your meetings.
You mean, yeah, okay.
It might make sense to, as you said, let them know, because I know Cheryl was in touch with them, we would, at least in the past, as we were talking about, she'd be in touch with them on a somewhat regular basis. So it might be good to let them know that we're considering the buyout offer, we would investigate a little further, so that they know we're not leaving them along.
Actually, the gentleman called me today
Oh, okay.
and he would like to come speak to council if possible.
on the lease or on the buyout mat. So that would be up to council if they would want to have them come or on the Zoom, but I could call them in maybe on
Monday.
Monday.
Yep.
I could have them come. Okay. For your questions.
From what this sounds like, we need to move, we can't drag our feet on this. Oh, I mean, yeah, you can't you can't drag your feet on this.
He also told me when we were talking that they would work, that he would like to see our lease and that, and then there could be different figures coming in even. So depending on our lease and things like that, so.
I'm sorry,
maybe
I'm
that-
missing something. He'd like to see your lease?
Yes, he said he'd like to see, to work through it and see what other figures they could come up with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they already have the lease. Like, yeah,
So he mean
Probably,
other
but sometimes
options of
they
offering us
rotate.
things?
People quite a bit,
Oh, they're
Their
like their
representative.
representative, so Mike just gave me
Yeah.
that. Okay.
but he should still have his own. leads.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate that, Patrick. And I'm gonna assume if we need anything else, this is a big assumption that Mayor Pro Tem can follow up with you.
oh, sure. And, I don't know about whether it makes sense to have American Tower come in before you get somebody on board or not. In some ways, just talking and saying, hey, well, yeah, we can schedule it for the next board meeting. What's your next council meeting?
On Monday.
Monday the 7th is the study session, and then the next actionable meeting is February 28th.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
I
that's President's Day. Keep forgetting.
was just figuring if it was a long time to get to it, you say, yeah, well, yeah, you can come out on such and such a date, but in the meantime, you could be looking to talk to consultants and see what they have to say. And if you do have American Tower to come out and do a presentation, I'd be happy to listen in and just see what they have to say if that's of help to you. But by then, I hope you have a consultant and they can better represent you than I. But whatever works for you.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, with
Anyone
that,
else have any? I said thank you. Does anyone else here have any questions, further questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Thanks again,
You-
Patrick.
you're welcome. And if I can do anything, Bruce, by all means, get a hold of me. Happy to help. And I will sign off because I don't think I have any need to sit in on the rest of your meeting tonight. I'm going to go find a glass of wine now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
All
choice.
right. Take care.
You too. Next action request for consideration or approval is actually just, it's a Lathrup school discussion, but it looks like we also would be doing the resolution if that is what it pleases the council. So I'm going to assume that it would be Ms. Beck who's going to introduce that.
Yep. So just about a year and a half ago, we were approached by, or I was approached by the Surnow company with a prospective project to bring the Lathrup Village School to life as a school once again. And they have an individual, T.R. Alstrom, who has some pretty extensive experience in the education world, specifically the K through 12 and private schools development. And he pitched to us this proposal to again re-envision the Lathrup School as a functioning school site again. And so as part of those initial conversations, the city did have we did have a couple meetings with TR as well as Surnow company representatives, and a letter of understanding was signed by the city and Surnow, Mr. Alstrom, which basically says yes, we will. The city will continue to support and provide information just as any other development, prospective development would. Sternow Company would agree, to also participate in this process. And that Mr. Alstrom would be taking the lead. And so Mr. Alstrom is here to tell us about the project a little bit more. I do know that Ms. Rice, I believe, from the school board was intending to attend. She's flying in from out of town.
I did see someone that said Southwell School Board.
It says T Rice up there.
Oh, there you go. Thank you very much. I'll unmute her in just a split second. And so what was proposed to you last week? And I will say it before, sorry, I'll back up just a minute. Mr. Alstrom has been meeting with different members of the community. He has been actively fundraising, for the school and the efforts of his group. And the city has not had extensive involvement at this point. This is really Mr. Alstrom taking the lead. So what was presented to you last week was a proclamation or resolution to express the city's support for the project. And you requested discussion. The discussion we shall have. So allow me to let in a couple of people and allow Ms. Rice to speak.
So before we start, I just want to make sure that everybody, the residents and the council understands that what was signed, one went past our city attorney first before any signatures happened. And also to note in the third paragraph, second sentence, that nothing in this letter of understanding shall be construed as legally binding, nor as an obligation to any party. Just to say, again, it's a letter of understanding of what was going on and to be able to give information freely to TR. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And Mr. Alstrom, I'll turn it over to you to give some background.
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for this opportunity to give public testimony on the single issue before you, which I believe more than any other, without any hyperbole, without more than any other, will determine the physical character, quality of life, and financial viability of the village for years to come. I stand before you not as one who holds high office or who wields great wealth or who seeks any special favor, but as an educator here to represent what I believe are the best interests of the 650 children and youth who are citizens of this town. As you know, and as has been mentioned, since July 2020, the village, the George Washington Scholars Endowment, through its Charles River Advisory, and the Sternow Company, which owns the long-shuttered and the Lathrup Schoolhouse, have been bound together by a letter of understanding built on a shared commitment to explore what that letter refers to as exciting opportunities for future generations and for the children of Lathrup Village in restoring the ancient schoolhouse and reopening the historic town school, which for so long served so many so well. Months have passed since all parties met in this building, and with great enthusiasm, I think all who in that meeting would concur, decided to press forward. So the pandemic made the reopening of the school quite inadvisable at that time. The long winter of COVID is now, we all hope and pray, coming to an end. Of recent, some of the seeds which have been planted during the fallow time of pandemic have begun to bud. Let me mention just a few, 10 in fact. One, the Lathrup School has been legally organized as a Michigan 501c3 not-for-profit corporation. Two, a complete educational plan. Whoops, it's hard to wear glasses and a mask at the same time, and some of you probably also discovered that. Two, a complete educational plan, including detailed subject by subject scope and sequence,
and a school calendar for the first academic year has been developed and published. 3, a multi-year budget and a 12-year student recruitment plan have been created. And this is a complicated process that involves people all over the country getting permits. 3, a call to design, or next, a call to design for the restoration of the schoolhouse and the development of a Main Street campus accommodating a premier K-12 academy serving approximately 1,600 students has been developed. Next, an outstanding area architectural firm which specializes in historic preservation has been retained and have commenced their work. Next, qualified engineers have examined the building and examined those plans and come up and have produced very detailed cost analysis and timetable. Next, a Lathrup School Committee, which includes several leading citizens of this village and representatives of some of the region's top artistic, scientific, and cultural institutions, has begun to form. Next, 5 great universities have already come together in this effort and in real hands-on ways, I might add, including the University of Michigan, Wayne State, Lawrence Tech, right here close to home, and Harvard and Howard on the East Coast. Next, the Save Our School campaign has been launched with village residents and local school alumni, one of whom is sitting next to me, who have been the first contributors. Then negotiations between the endowment and the Cernow Company are now underway. I'm a horrible negotiator and I scale those negotiations, but there is some expertise on my board to that end. I would say this too, to anyone interested in how this plays out, for up-to-date information, or to volunteer, or to contribute, just go to www.lathrup.org. It couldn't be a simpler website. It's a beautiful website. It tells the story better than you cannot. The resolution I raise now to support only publicly affirms the enthusiastic support of this effort from the start, from that meeting so many months ago. Allow me to offer 3 reasons for the resolution's passage and 1 cautionary note. I want to personally thank, by the way, Susie Steck. Sitting next to me, Susie has been just a wonderful voice of common sense and encouragement, and every time Susie and her professionalism is profoundly appreciated. And she said, go, stop, yes, no. And she's always been right there and just giving us good advice, and it's really appreciated. So thank you. Let me just, reason first, 3 reasons this should be done. Number 1, the iconic 1927 schoolhouse is an architectural gem. It was designed not only as the town's school and the center of its cultural and social life, but as an architectural, visual focal point within the midst of a model village, visible from the radial street which proceeds from it and the lovely asymmetrical lanes which surround it. Lois Lathrup's visionary plan for an idyllic village and her commitment to excellence in the materials and workmanship employed to build it were widely recognized, nationally recognized in her time, and they have stood the test of time. Generations have come and gone, yet after nearly a century, even in its shameful state of neglect and disrepair, the town's schoolhouse remains the most elegant and impressive building on the long stretch of Southfield Road. The symmetry and dignity of its neoclassical forms arrest the eye. The high-pitched roof set between gate ornamental chimneys is a thing of beauty. The telescope setbacks of its original north and south wings break up the mass of the long west-facing elevation and make it pleasant to the eye. A closer look, which many in this room have taken many times, a closer look reveals the artful embellishments of the brickwork and the tasteful employment of limestone to frame dramatic vertical stacks of windows with well-proportioned muttons and canes. It is these subtleties of design that make our venerable schoolhouse graceful rather than grand, modest and inviting. It has earned its place on the National Register of Historic Places. The great Lathrup mansion was lost to fire. The handsome neo-Georgian town hall was lost to so-called progress. The schoolhouse, set among so many fine houses, is now the town's signature, its stamp, its statement. A public building of this quality could not be built today at a reasonable cost. To tear it down would be a travesty, an unforgivable sin against both the past and the future. To gut the building with all of its lovely interior details, which are as exquisite as the exterior, leaving only the west elevation as a facade of fake front for yet another commercial venue, would be still worse. It would be a betrayal of the children for which it was built. Reason second, the children. The main reason to save our school is not the intrinsic value of the building, but the infinite value of the children for whom it was built. My advocacy is about much more than saving an old building. It is about saving our children. It is about giving the parents of this village, 40% of whom choose not to use the system for which they pay through their taxes, to give those parents real educational children. It is about giving back to their sons and daughters something, frankly, that was taken from them. The children and youth of Lathrup Village deserve a world-class academy in their town, a glorious, elegant place full of history which gives them identity. They deserve a premier K-12 academy to which they can walk to and fro every day. They deserve a school with a bit more bracing academic challenge and a significantly higher standard of conduct and civility. Along with the advanced offerings in science, technology, engineering, and math, for which our region is rightly renowned, they need a little formal instruction in classics, foreign languages, ancient and modern, logic, rhetoric, geography, history, and social responsibility. They need to be discovering themselves in art, music, and literature, which will vibrate the alien strings of their moral imaginations. They need great sports teams, small Socratic classes, daily tutorial opportunities. They need outward bound. They need community service. They need a place, a special place, where they are safe and known and loved and always called by their names. The Lathrup School will form them. This kind of a school, K-12, will form who they are as people. They will carry it for the rest of their lives. And this is their birthright. It would be their school, the place of their childhood games, the scholarly society in which they become women and men. They would be forever stamped with openness by the character and quality of the school they attended and the community they created. They need and deserve a quality of education that the vast cinder block and linoleum system simply does not provide. If we do the right thing here and now, we can give that back to them. And I will say, I have a man sitting next to me, and I've met several others who lived in this. They remember what it was like to grow up in this glorious community when there was no 696 spoiling the marshes and their play fields. And when Southfield Road was not a long strip mall. And when they attended this glorious small school where they were known and loved, and it was a pretty remarkable place to grow up. Reason third, I just mentioned to you the intrinsic value of the building we seek to save, and have implored you to consider the infinite value of the children from whom that building was taken, and it was taken. I ask you to consider soberly the economic impact of the decision you make tonight and in the nights which follow. If any have been seduced to believe that the immediate tax revenues gained from opening a few commercial establishments on the site designed to be the village's educational, cultural, and civic center will offset the long-term benefits of restoring that civic center as a vibrant hub of town life and a regional destination for education, the arts, leisure, entertainment, I advise you to drive to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and walk around Main Street, State Street, Liberty Street, Huron Street, or just pick up the phone and have a good chat with Susan Scott, who understands these things on a very deep level. It is as simple as A, B, C, D. And I will say I have had the privilege through the United Nations to go all over the world and see this play out, not just in this country. A, B, C, D, in terms of international development, is called academy-based community development. The school we are planning would be one of America's premier independent schools, a regional center for classical learning. The historic schoolhouse we seek now to say would become Old Main in a campus that would include the construction of a separate new upper school, a library and a separate building, a library and town archive, an art gallery, a performing arts center, an outdoor amphitheater, formal gardens and greenhouses, and athletic venues, all available without charge to residents of this village. The day the school opens, residential properties will begin to rise sharply. And I say this again from experience in a half dozen other American cities. And with both that rise in property values, of course, there is a rise in tax receipts. Although an economic impact study has yet to be done, I can assure you there's an academic institution that will ultimately employ more than 250 highly paid professionals and another 100 well-paid support staff jobs of this, an organization that will attract upscale retail and dining to the town center will have a profound long-term effect and a long-term economic impact. It will transform the village into the place where young families will want to live, work, and raise their kids. There will be a line at the door to live in the village when they know this is their school. They don't have to apply to get in. They are accepted because they live in Lathrup Village. The cautionary note. I thought of this as I prepared this. Julius Caesar, Act 4, Scene 3. There is a tide in the affairs of men which taketh the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted are the voyages of our life, are bound in shallows and miseries. On such a full sea we are now afloat. We must take the current while it serves, or lose our venture. Well, these wonderful lines from Shakespeare that we've all heard many times, and they're lovely to be sure. I actually have always been convinced, and had taught this in school. He stole them from Geoffrey Chaucer, who a couple of centuries before wrote this: time and tide wait for no man. In any case, they apply directly to us tonight. This is the moment, and I mean this, the next couple of weeks, where this will either happen or it won't happen. And there's no question about the goodwill of this city council, of this city staff, and of many, many people that I keep meeting in this village. There is no question about that. We are now in a negotiation with Sam Surnow. I would say this, and just to put this into perspective. We had great success in founding Bronx Latin with Mayor de Blasio just a few years ago, calling it, it's been so successful, calling it the future of education in New York City. Because his predecessor, Michael Bloomberg, literally took our education plan and turned it into a trifold preparedness, and went all over the city talking about Bronx Latin. If it wasn't for the energy and frankly the genius, I would say, Michael Bloomberg, that school wouldn't exist. And by the way, the school system fought it tooth and nail. I worked in 20 towns on these schools. The school system always fights it tooth and nail, and I think you can answer them right on that piece of case. When we went to Washington DC to create the Washington Latin School, the same thing was true. We had all kinds of opposition. The Mayor Adrian Tendy, all the chairs of committee, he ruled, he blocked, he tackled, he fought, he helped us get that school open. And in fact, he was such an educational reformer. I shouldn't say this, I guess, the Mayor Garrett sitting here right across the room, but he really lost his seat for re-election because the teachers unions went after him because he was such an educational reformer. He was a great mayor and a great friend of that school. I would just say this won't happen. It won't happen without the active, enthusiastic, joyful support of you who actually represent the citizens of this village. Sam Cernow is a good guy. He's a wonderful man. He may need a nudge to do the right thing for the boys and girls of this village. And he's a key player in this happen. So I can quote statistics on why such a school is needed in the future. I ask for your support. It is a resolution. There is no, we're not asking for anything other. And by the way, why is this resolution important? Since everybody's already been encouragement. Because we're now getting to the point where we're sending out, we're organizing and sending out grant proposals for corporations and foundations. We want in those grant proposals something official from the city saying these support us, we encourage this. That would probably help us in that success. Thank you for your time. And Madam Mayor, I want to say especially, I know the Austin family, we're not the only one. The last year was a tough year for you. And you did your goals, stay your goals, spend your duty, and we keep praying for you. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you not to leave because I want to give an opportunity not only for the council to ask questions, but also it looks like there might be two members, maybe two members from the South, three members from the Southfield School Board, if that's all right with you. So are you unmuting?
I'm asking each of them to unmute.
Okay. In the meantime, is there any council members that have any questions?
Yes,
Councilmember Miller.
okay. I have a few questions. First of all, have you run birth rate predictions? 1,600 students is a lot of students, so I'm wondering, where they're going to come from. I know.
Very good question. And as I said, we would start with 128 students on the first floor of a rehabilitated schoolhouse. And then the second year that would double because we would complete the second floor. So we really sequence across anticipated revenues and all of that. It's a good place. So it takes us really 10 years to get up to 1,600 students, but it grows. We grow out in the middle. We start with grades 5 to 7, and we go both ways to be a K-12 school.
Okay. And do private schools pay property taxes or not?
No.
No. Okay.
But
And
they do pay all kinds of business taxes and
okay. And then I was just wondering, I know you've started a fundraising campaign. I was just wondering how much you've collected so far and what happens to that money if this doesn't come to fruition.
well, I don't have the exact number. We've collected, I want to say less than $10,000 so far. And all from individuals. We haven't started corporate fundraising yet. And the way we'll sequence this, we've done this another time. We start seeking high net worth individuals that can get private donations. And that's money to open an office across the street and hire a couple of people until they get going. And then we can here, we're going to focus on finding 20 companies in Southfield. And these are not, I don't call these donors, these are really partners. They're companies that they want these graduates to be job ready day one for their companies. They will help us create internship programs. Of course, it's a great expertise, especially in science, engineering, technology. Companies like Lear, I was discussing this with some of those executives last week. We want them to work with our faculty on curriculum design. So these are really neat partnerships. A model for this, and a school with which I'm familiar and have been involved, is Thomas Jefferson School of Science and Technology in Northern Virginia, which U.S. News and World Report always ranks, it's been the best high school in the country 4 or 5 times, and it's always in the top 10. But that was the plan there. My good friend Jeffrey Jones, who founded that school, and he was served on our board. It was the Lathrup Corporation to provide the enormous material investment that it takes to put a school. So stage 3 are foundation. And this is, again, I'm not pretending to be a fundraising expert, but I have raised more than $60 million for schools in the last 25 years personally by begging people. So I'm not a professional, but I love kids, and I just say it, and I will beg for kids. And I beg people now, we need to raise about 50,000. I said this to a little group in the living room, some of you were there, right up front, and that's 1% of the total. And I had a parent back in New York where I headed the school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. We had a campaign, and David Hunter, he came in one morning with his little boys, and he said, came to the headmaster's office, and I was overwhelmed, you could tell. He said, headmaster. He said, don't, with a big smile on his face, he said, headmaster, don't forget, yard by yard, it gets real hard, but inch by inch, everything's a cinch. And our attitude has been, and there was a really important call with Susie Stuck. A few of us were on the phone months ago, we were talking about this in the midst of COVID, and Susie just kind of cut through the meeting and said, it ain't gonna happen in that time period. Forget it. She didn't say anything. Yes, but there was a sense of relief that, wait, let's not put a false pressure on us when the school will open. It will open when we're ready to open. And I think it's going to be a long, grueling venture that's going to be fueled by love and joy. And I'm too old to be a part of something that's contentious. If we can't have love, joy, happiness, and laughter in creating something truly beautiful for our kids, then we just are in the wrong business. And I hope that's what it is for you. Our kids deserve more. And I never want to say a deprecatory word about self-built schools, and certainly not about teachers. Teachers are the most valuable people. I'm sure there are people in this room who either do teach or have taught. And I will say that you're the most important people in this room, and you're the most important people in this society. And the problems in your education, which are staggering, it's not that teachers aren't fine, dedicated people. We have created a cinder block linoleum system that was obsolete the day it was created, and it doesn't work, and it's not going to work going forward, period. And I believe that. So if we're waiting for the current system to provide high quality education for these kids, we will wait till whole thing is over. It's not going to happen. So forgive me if I say too much.
Do you have any further questions?
No.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
I have a question. So what does your demographics look like in your other schools that you champion?
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking the question. We did something really cool, especially in Washington, D.C. And I forgive me for the narrative, it's the best answer to the question. When we went to Washington, and that school happens to be a charter school. The one in New York is a regular New York Central System public school. And these funding formulas, it's not one size fits all. It's really up to you as leaders of the building. How much you want. I'm not a financier, I'm educated. But in answer to the question, we went to Washington, and Washington is a tale of two cities. It's Dickinsonia. You have Northwest Washington, fabulously wealthy. You have Southeast Washington, dirt poor, very frankly. The middle class has moved out of Washington, D.C. African Americans tended, I'm generalizing, to move to Maryland. White folks in the middle class tended to move to Virginia, but the city is divided by 16th Street like a brick wall. It's like 8 Mile Road, right?
Yes, I'm familiar.
And there were 38 charter schools when we got to DC. And they were all, the whole system was black. The whole system, I mean, literally almost every, it was very, I mean, every principal, every teacher, every student, it was a system for African Americans. And by the way, white folks in Northwest were quite happy with that. And we wanted economic diversity. And I've learned along the way, I don't want to talk about race. I want to talk about economic diversity. The problem in America is that it ain't fair, and it really isn't fair. The older I get, it's not fair. And this system works for people with a lot of money, but it doesn't work for everybody else. So we wanted economic diversity. What we did, and what did it work? We rented church space about 2 blocks from National Cathedral in the richest neighborhood in Washington. We got a lot of press on this, by the way, but you can go back and you'll read the bad stories, but it's mainly good stuff. But we rented this space surrounded by $2 million houses. And we opened the school about this size with 150 kids. And but what we did is we went to the poorest neighborhoods of DC. And I say I recruited, which we'll do here, all these great young idealistic teachers, from Harvard University and Stanford University. So I had this great young staff. And we would go to the poorest neighborhoods in DC, Anacostia, and we'd set up card tables on Saturday morning. And, a mom would be walking with her stroller with her little kid and a beautiful boy next to her. And we'd say, come on over here with a 1-page flyer. And we'd tell them about a classical education. These people didn't know what a classical education was, many of them. Many people here don't. But we recruited really on the ground. When we opened, it was so glorious. And we have hundreds of families on the waiting list. When we opened, the school was 54% minority. 54% minority. But that didn't just happen. That doesn't happen in America. Americans tend to withdraw into their own subculture. We worked to make that happen. It happened. I was just asked to speak at graduation. I'm headmaster emeritus. This year I'm going to speak at graduation. That school today is 54% minority. It is a true mix of people because they worked to make that happen. And I'll say this. The Washington Latin School is the highest performing school in the District of Columbia, public or private, and it was the first year it opened. And today, I spoke to a board member last week, there are 2,200 families on the waiting list. So we will do things here actively to make sure this school looks like the United Nations. And that is not to be politically correct. That is for this reason. As an educator, and maybe I'm old-fashioned, and I am old-fashioned and corny, but I went to public school. I went to good public schools back when most public schools were real good. And there was a time in America, it wasn't that long ago, when the rich and the poor sat at the same table, they read the same books, they took the same tests, and they played on the same sports teams and sang in the same choirs. And that is our school. It is a better educational experience for boys and girls if they're sitting around the table and the people around that table are red, yellow, black, and white, and they're upper class and middle class and welfare poor and everything in between. And it's the grown-ups that struggle with this. Teenagers love this. Kids love diversity. It's the grown-ups that are all tied in knots about it. So I thank you for the question. We will work hard, and I could go on, but we are doing things to make sure we have little outposts. We'll have a long line at the door the day the school opens, and we will make sure that the poorest of the poor in metropolitan Detroit have a seat at that table. And I know because of our curriculum, we'll have, I get the calls now, we'll have parents that are now paying $1,000 a year for Cranbrook that say, well, why would I be paying that for Cranbrook when I have a Cranbrook quality education, which academically will be day one, without paying that? So, great question.
Any further questions? Regarding Southfield School Board, is there any questions from them?
Ms. Rice, you are.
Good evening.
unmuted and-
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and Lathrup Village community. Talisha Rice from the Southfield Board of Education, President. One of the things that we wanted to come to the meeting is to share our concern regarding the proposal or resolution for the Lathrup School. Especially given that Southfield Public Schools is currently servicing students from both Southfield and Lathrup Village cities and positioning them for success. One of the first questions that we have is the intent for it to be a private school or charter school? It's one of the questions that we have.
It would be what we call a socially responsible independent school. It would be a private school with a public mission.
So a private school for private funds
It would be a private school or a public.
with tuition,
It would be a-
with
It
tuition.
would be a school that was, it would be a school that was directly funded by the public rather than funds going to Lansing or Washington. But it would be funded by, as were all town schools for many generations in this country.
What do you mean funded by the public? It's not tuition?
By voluntary contributions. You can start with Boston Latin and come up into the late 19th century. Every school in America was funded that way. There was no such thing as a public school in Michigan until the 1870s. But we had town schools. This is, in a sense, organizational throwback to the town school.
But when you're saying public,
Yeah.
you're saying tax money. you're
No.
saying- I think that's what you're. I
That's
think
what she's
you're
asking,
confusing.
yeah.
Forgive me, I didn't mean the money of the water. It would be a private school. in today's day.
So thank you for that information. I think the next piece is that we really wanted to talk with the Lathrup Village City Council to be able to share information about our journey that we're starting with the bond for capital improvement projects, to be able to give us the ability to have funding, a large amounts of funding for facilities, whether it be new facilities, renovated facilities. And we wanted to have a dialogue with the city council regarding that, to look at what alternative options might we have to ensure that we are servicing the needs of all the students for both the city of Southfield and Lathrup Village.
Is that a question to the council or that wasn't?
Yeah, or more of an invite for a discussion regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, we're always open to that. I believe, Susie Speck, did you reach out for a meeting also?
No, I reached out just to invite
The mayor.
Ms. Rice and other school board members to the meeting this evening, but if we would like to hold a separate meeting with them, by all means, I will do
I
that.
think that we're up for another meeting. The last meeting that we had with them was 2019.
November 4th.
Wow. I'm the liaison. I'll set something up.
Okay, well,
May
we
I
were,
just address one thing directly to Ms. Rice?
sure,
First of all, thank you for making time to have this meeting. In every city that we've gone to, it is always my first order of business or a high order of business to meet with the chief the chief educational officer in that city. And we've done that everywhere and did that with Nikolai Beatty, who I have nothing but affection and admiration for in Detroit, as we first thought we would put the school there. And so I want to say to you, when I said to Dr. Janey in Washington and Superintendent Klein in New York, what we're doing is no competition for an American public school. We are really a boutique school in some ways. We are teaching things that you do not teach. And you are probably teaching things that we do not teach. And what we would hope to have is a glorious partnership where we strengthen each other's programs. So there's no sense to the company. I think we'd all agree we need more great schools. I happen to believe the only way to fix what is terribly broken in America is not to have some grand plan. It's to build great schools one at a time.
thank you.
So have you met with
No.
them, or do you plan on meeting with them?
Well, at this
We
point,
haven't.
This is a unique situation because Lathrup Village is it is a independent Michigan city. And so my priority is to make sure that we are walking in step with the leaders of the city.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Rice, Councilwoman Miller, and Susie Speck will work together to figure out a time, date for us to meet. That sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So what we have is to present the resolution or someone doing the motion for the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we make a resolution of encouragement for the license school.
Is there a second? It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion for accepting the resolution? There is a discussion. I have to say my legal name it has to be changed on it. But then it's not fine. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to roll call to accept the resolution for the Lathrup school discussion. Lathrup school, okay.
Councilmember Miller,
No,
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yeah.
Councilmember Canes. Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll get it signed into you. So,
Thanks so much, yeah.
So next we move to the Downtown Development Authority appointments.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we do have a 9-member DDA board, and we have unfortunately a handful of vacancies. We had 3 seats expiring tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and those would be Dan Sugg and Fred Prime, as well as currently serving is Ms. Shyla Belter. She has not reapplied to serve. And then we have an additional vacancy, a 4th vacancy with the departure of Cheryl Mitchell-Terrio. So those 4 vacancies need to be filled. We did receive applications from Dan Sugg, who is currently the chair, who would like to continue on, as well as Fred Prime, who is who's currently vice chair and also interested in continuing to serve, as well as Angelique Whitby. She's a resident outside the district, and I should say that Mr. Sugg is with Michigan First Credit Union. Mr. Prime is with, he's a resident living outside the district. We also received applications from Ms. Charlotte Jones. She's a property owner in the district on 12 Mile, as well as Alex Greenforth, who is also a property owner in the district. So the bylaws and state legislation say that a majority of the DDA board members must have either a business or property ownership stake in the district. So you'll notice on the memo, there are 4 individuals, Mr. Sugg, Mr. Pine, Ms. Jones, and Mr. Green, who are being recommended by the mayor and meet the parameters outlined in the DDA bylaws and state law.
So we need to have a suggested motion to appoint the 4 asterisks.
Yes, please.
Okay. 4 asterisks with terms ending February 1st, 2026. If you want to go ahead and make a motion.
Can I ask one question before I make the motion? Just throwing this out there as a thought. I mean, we had the city administrator as one of the members of the DDA. I think it's been that way for a long time, am I correct?
I think we just checked. We
Or
just
did
extended it.
Cheryl?
Then
I believe the city administrator has been serving on the DDA board quite some time. Obviously, as the DDA director, I cannot serve in that capacity. Pam is already serving as our treasurer, as the DDA treasurer. So I
Well, I guess-
suppose you could appoint Chief Scott McKee if you prefer.
Well, I guess the question that I was going to just throw out there, and the only reason why I'm asking it first is because it would affect any motion since we've got 4 spots here. Would it make sense to leave a spot open for our new city administrator once they're hired, or do you need somebody in that spot right away?
I mean, that's really the choice of council. I'd prefer to have a full board. We
So
do
that'll also
have-
make it even if we don't do appoint someone.
That is correct.
So you need an extra person. So I mean, I have no problem with adding to your plate. To McKee.
It's fine, whatever the flavor of council.
If that was the case, if you chose to appoint Chief McKee, he would be serving as a interim, but it would also be taking the place of a business, right? Because the city administrator does have a stake in, a business stake, if you will, in the district. So
But don't we still have, we have it where you, we had a substitute.
that is actually not something that is provided for in PA 57, which is
Oh,
the
okay.
state law,
I thought we had
nor
that
is it
before.
something that's provided in our bylaws.
I thought we had, Corey.
I-
Fortson.
He was, but that was not one who
I
did
got you.
not, yeah.
Okay,
You could, Mayor, you could appoint someone from council to serve as your alternate, but PA 57, that's the only allotment PA 57 allows for alternates to serve on the board,
I could appoint someone
Yeah.
only from council.
only from council, correct?
So I'm gonna amend it. Even though. And so when we get a new city manager, we would have to go and appoint that person, or so it'll clean, that'll be a clean change. Yes.
Or could we appoint Scott and then as an interim city manager, and he just steps
Right.
down and we have an opening and we appoint the city manager at that point?
That sounds to me like the cleanest way to do it. Yes.
Okay, so I would say to take it to appointing Scott with the caveat or the asterisk of temporary until the city hires a city administrator.
Okay.
Dan Suggs, Fred Prime, and Charlotte Jones.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's what it would be. I hope you heard that.
I was, no,
Oh, remember-
you were making a motion.
No, 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 no.
Seconded, is that what you were making
No,
a
no, no,
motion?
no. So I need someone to make a motion.
He said 3 names, because there's 4 appointments, and there's one that was for the one you just given to Chief McKee.
One of the 4 is for Chief.
Okay, and then I do see. No, let's see on this one, I thought I saw 1, 2, 3, 4 asterisks.
So we would drop off Alex Green, the property owner. So it would be Scott McKee, Dan Suggs, Fred Fry, and Charlotte Jones.
Those are the qualifications, so we're going to read the most two you'd like to drop off.
Dan Sugg and Fred Prime currently are the chair and vice chair of it.
Okay.
You can only have 3 outside the district residents on the DDA. You already have Brian Ford. Fred Prime would be the second one. And then the other 2 are the other 2 were actually property owners in the district, and just I chose Charlotte Jones, of someone who's been involved regularly with the city.
I don't know.
This is
Yeah,
fine.
there's not much on the application.
And also based off the application too, I mean, I looked at all of it.
Yeah, there isn't much on the application, so,
Oh, I was gonna say, is this the application?
yeah,
Oh,
Yes, it's a
Yes.
pretty basic application.
Oh, okay.
And again, one of the main criteria is their stake in the district. Majority has to have either property ownership or business.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Dan Suggs, Fred Prime, Charlotte Jones, and Chief Scott McKee to the DDA board with terms that expire on February 1st, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Councilmember Canes.
Yes.
Councilmember Miller. Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, bless you. The next one is the generator quote update.
Yes, Mayor and Council, it's been a busy week. I have met with Lee Contracting out of Pontiac 3 or 4 times this week. They're doing a great job analyzing the project. They've had pipe fitters out here, gas people out here. They've been out a number of times. We're still waiting on their quote. I've also met with Detroit Electric, who came out readily as soon as I called. They're working on a quote as well. And I am still waiting to hear back from Eckler Electric.
And this is for the actual quote of the generator, but is it also giving you a quote of the extras?
So Eckler Electric was given a number of questions that were provided by Peter Stefan.
Okay,
And then that generated more questions about warranties and things like that. And then I requested that we do a walkthrough with their folks to find out what are the extras and do they have subcontractors that would handle that? And they said they'd get back to me. So I'm still waiting to hear from them on that. Detroit Electric and Lee Contracting is going to be a turnkey quote. They will handle everything.
oh, okay,
So
okay. I look forward to
Thank
hearing
you.
that. Thank you for following up with that. Next, the but so long, did you have anything else? I'm sorry, did anyone else have any other questions regarding the generator?
Just to thank you to Kevin for helping out, that's right.
yeah,
The but so long invoice.
So, good evening, Council. On this one, I have been in back and forth conversations with the lead attorney from Butts Along regarding their invoice. I expressed to them that the shock and dismay that not only I had, but the city staff as well as council when we received their initial invoice, especially after they made no communications to us that they had exceeded their retainer and were continuing to provide services without notifying the city council. So based on those conversations, they have agreed to reduce their invoice by approximately a little less than a third, for a total cost of $20,000 less the $5,000 credit, which leaves a balance of $15,000 outstanding. Seeking approval of that and disbursement of that.
So that is going to be an actual motion to approve that.
Yeah, if we could have a motion to approve the disbursement to Butts Along, $15,000 and closing out that invoice. That's what the suggested motion would be.
We need someone to make the motion. And just because you make the motion, does
Yeah.
not mean you have to agree with it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Butts Along reduction from 28,000 to 20,000. I mean to 15,000.
I need a second. Now it's been moved in second. Now you want to have a discussion regarding it.
Yeah, Scott, I mean, I don't know how much I did do the math, but it looks like there was a lot of stuff on here for the QBF, which we never had done for to do. Or to validate. I don't know what percentage of that is, but it looks like almost all of page 46 has QBF on it. Some of the second page, and some of them are some significant hours. I don't know whether or not, whether or not they can back out the QBF work that we never asked for and then give us a third off, or. It's still just, it's really disappointing.
I don't disagree with you. I did try several different approaches with them to try and get, obviously reducing this as much as they possibly could. This is the best offer that they've they've agreed to accept. So, if council wants to go back again, I certainly can, and I certainly will. But I've been working on this for about a month, and this is as good as I've been able to get. So The city did sign a retainer agreement with them, yes, and that was authorized by city council.
I mean, let me ask this, what are the professional norms? I mean, the thing that I find incredibly frustrating is the fact that, we had a $5,000 retainer. And, not only, we just got no notification that we, had we're even coming close to the retainer. And then all of a sudden we get a bill for 5 times the amount of the retainer. And, I don't know what the professional practices are of that. Do they have a legal requirement to notify us?
So again, it's in my practice, if we were on retainer and I was approaching exhausting that retainer, I certainly would convey to my clients, and largely in part because I'd want to make sure that I was getting compensated for the work I was doing. Now, there were obvious time constraints from when they were engaged to when the work product was expected to be produced, and then there were issues with that work product, so that delayed it further and caused additional services. So I can't speak for them. I mean, certainly we could request that they come to a council meeting to answer these questions directly, but I will just say that, in my experience as an attorney, that I certainly would always advise my client if they were coming close to exceeding that retainer agreement.
Any other questions?
I mean, what,
Did
go ahead, Karen.
did I read this correctly, that after the election commission made their final call, that there was contact and questions from Mr. Cantor and from Cheryl Mitchell? Is that what I read correctly on the invoice? After the final election commission meeting, looks like maybe 4 or 5 hours.
What date is that?
What date is that?
We had, the meeting was the 8th,
I'm saying on the bill.
the 12th through the 14th.
Right.
They were all charges,
Right, questioning Barb's.
questioning my nominated petition or something, my affidavits, and they were all brought up by Mr. Cantor and city administrator.
So there were a series of correspondence that did go back and forth after the election commission meeting. And it stemmed from the discussion during that meeting about Councilwoman Knez's the date that her affidavit was notarized and the date that she actually signed it. I believe it was signed prior to, it was purportedly notarized prior to her signing.
That was addressed at the
So
meeting.
there were some follow-up emails about that, a request for clarification that they did invoice on that.
Okay, everyone.
And I thought this was an independent, I thought we turned this over because we didn't want council members and administration and anybody. We were presenting them with what we had, and we were counting on them to make the determination, and it seems like we were still interjecting opinions, and
We were
I
only,
didn't have that opportunity to interject anything.
we were only looking at them for recommendation.
Right, and they gave it to us, and then we still pursued it.
I think it was an inquiry, and I don't want to speak for Bruce. I don't remember exactly what he asked, but there was an inquiry about that, the dates and what was provided during that last election commission meeting. So
The inquiry was to Cheryl Mitchell, not Buffalo office. She, it was like she followed up with them.
Well, you're on there also, so. And that was decided at the election commission meeting. That was talked about, and Butts
So maybe
Along
we could take that
said
off,
that they.
because that was already determined.
well, you can ask Butts Along to take it off. I have no control over what they're
I
going
know.
to take
Maybe
off
we
or
should-
include.
I
So
know, we probably
Or
should
maybe we
have
send
that.
bills.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same question about it. I mean, but do we, I mean.
I'm
I
thinking,
want-
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead,
Go ahead,
no.
no, go ahead.
I'm thinking that if you just vote down the motion, that tells our city attorney to go back to the drawing board, and then you can follow up with saying what needs to come off, like the QVF file. And then just like your concerns about this particular
Well, my concerns are that they were continuing to run up charges after a final decision had already been made. That's my concern.
No,
That-
I'm
that,
getting everybody's
you know.
concerns. I'm just saying the way that, what we can do as a council, what we can say is also what our concerns are. You can vote, because we're still in the motion right now, to vote down the motion. And then we can put together what we need our city attorney to go back with.
Right, but I'm not challenging Butts Along's billing on that. I'm challenging what happened here.
But we're
after
only
how
talking
that
about
was
the billing
allowed.
right now, though. We can talk about what happened here during council comments, but this is just for the billing right now.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, if we get a contract, we did it say after 5,000, we wanted to be contacted, just to ensure we weren't going overboard on this. Or did we know what was in the contract? Was there language in there that would have prevented this?
Was there a contract?
Sorry, I have two questions at once. What was,
Was there language in the contract that would have prevented this excessive bill?
no, I mean, their retainer agreement spells out that, and again, it's what I just said as far as how I practice and, it's not, that's customary is to have that conversation. There's no legal requirement that they do that in their retainer agreement. It spells out essentially, and we can provide it to the council if it hasn't already been provided, but that spells out that essentially the city obligated for all hours spent on this. And again, this was something that while we did quickly direct them, or apparently not quickly enough, but we did direct them to not review the QBF file. But we did initially, we didn't give them a lot of directives as to what we were looking for because we weren't trying to skew their results. Now, when they were started going down a road that wasn't even traversable at that point, for lack of a better example, because the time to question or challenge voters on the actual petitions themselves had already passed. Again, I can't speak for them why they chose to continue to include those services in their invoice. So, I mean, certainly that would be a good question for them.
I mean, I guess the one question, if we bring them in front of us, I mean, I certainly don't want to pay more than $5,000, which is what we authorized, but they did the work, and if we bring them in front of us, is there the chance that they may rescind their offer? I mean,
she
and then
did
we're
say
out,
that-
then we're out $8,000 more. So
And she did say that anything would have to be approved by their finance committee, so she doesn't have, settlement authority, so to speak. So I don't know that, again, I don't know that they would be going back on that, but it's, I mean, certainly a possibility.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
no,
Councilmember Canes, Councilmember Miller,
No.
Mayor Garrett,
No.
motion denied.
I can invite them to Monday's study session.
That's fine.
Will they charge us for that?
Well, and give them two choices for either Monday or the 28th. So they want to come on Monday, which is bothering there. So next, as we adjusted the agenda, next is going to be, G is going to be Black History Month resolution.
Yes, Mayor and Council, you have in the past, you've recognized February as Black History Month. And so once again, would like to present this resolution to you for your consideration and adoption.
Would you like to make a motion for adopting the Black History Month resolution?
I'll make the motion to adopt the Black History Month resolution.
second,
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion behind it? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
yeah,
Councilmember Canes,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
motion carried.
thank you. And last is council information requests and concerns.
There, as you know, there's been Councilwoman Miller and Councilwoman Smith have asked for different bits of information, different items for information and inquiries. And so we thought it best to have this all on the agenda so we can make sure that you all have an ample opportunity to discuss. So, we've also, and some of those questions have included regarding the, sorry, thank you, the benefits, the split duties of city administrators. So you have been provided with the personnel manual that all of staff receives, as well as you have a memo outlining the duties the three of us are splitting, the additional duties that the three of us are splitting. And then we had discussed, I believe it was at the last meeting, perhaps the meeting before, we discussed Attorney Baker has brought up the ethics ordinance, and we, as we were going through our files, we did come across the ethics and code of conduct for city council boards, commissions, and committees, which was adopted November 18th of 2019. So we wanted to make sure that you all had a copy of that information. So those should have all been on your desks prior to the start of the meeting.
Thank you. And so the ethics and code of conduct, that's the, I guess that the council needs to follow up also, but one thing is that it's just the ethics code of conduct, there is no repercussion to not.
No, and
It's already been passed, right? No.
And this is what the city currently has. There's also the council rules of procedure that when we did the parliamentarian training, I think Coco noted that it was from the late 80s. So, you know, this information and what I had envisioned for this is, I think it's we've talked about this. I would prefer to have this be like a working document where council has the input and very similar to how the cannabis ordinance was created with, I'm sorry, not the ordinance, but the scoring matrix was created with input from the planners, the staff. I think that is a better approach so that way it's not just I'm drafting something and presenting it to you and then you could say yes or no. I think actually getting input, you know, what works, what doesn't work. Obviously, we have some council members right now that feel that our current system is not working. It's difficult to get information. The information is not coming timely. It's either frustrating or cumbersome to have to channel that communication through the mayor. So what is another viable solution? You know, what else could not inundate the staff or cause duplicative requests for the same information or slightly different requests for the same information that they're then consuming their time when they should be doing something else, but responding to multiple requests from individuals for the same information. So what's another solution? How could we make this work where it's easier? Maybe there isn't another solution, but those are the discussions that I think council needs to have. And then based on those based on those solutions, and I want this to be something that everybody can agree upon and everybody feels like they own it, and they have some ownership over it. So I think then taking all of that and trying to put that into a document that just kind of updates and encompasses everything. And then to that point, that, you know, there is some sort of a consequence or a process for violation of it, because right now there really is no, I mean, it goes from, you know, whatever to misconduct in office and removal. So, you know, there's no counseling, there's no training, there's no, you know, as you know, the police department has an escalated discipline system. So if there's, you know, an issue with an officer that they progress through this system in hopes that, after the first counseling or sit down with the chief, it resolves the issue. So, something along those lines, I think could be incorporated into this, but that's what I'm looking for. And again, I'm looking to do this in a meeting where it's the only thing we talk about. I know we try to set up meetings, and I think tonight was supposed to be just the cell tower presentation, and here we are an hour, almost 2 hours into it on item G. So you can see how these things kind of snowball into much bigger, and we don't have the time really to put into really focusing on these things. So I think that's what I would like to see, and doing, again, I'd like to do it in the near future. We talked about amending this 2 years ago, and we still haven't gotten to it. It's one of those things where it kind of got pushed down, and then something else came up, and this fell to the bottom of the pile. So keeping it in the forefront, I'd like to schedule a meeting that works, that could be truly a working type meeting, and get some good feedback and input.
Right, so we can have a dinner, and then a dinner study session or something like that. But my question was about the communications you were saying. What's outstanding? That's been requested as well.
There's been some, I know that Councilmember Miller has asked for personnel files and information in personnel files. And that has not been given yet. And if she does come in to look at the files, we're going to have staff with her when the files are going to be through. I was told through the Human Resources Labor Attorney that somebody would have to be sitting with her at the time. We have to get staff for that. We're very limited on our staff right now. And also the other thing is that if any council member wants anything, the whole council gets it. It's not just one person asking for everything. The whole council will get everything.
So all of the personnel files of everyone that works there?
From 2017 to 2021. That has been hired on our side of the building. All the, wants to know all the promotions, raises, all that. It's very cumbersome, a lot of information.
I would like to address this since
Sure.
this is mine, and since I was slandered at the last meeting. I requested this information December 6th. I asked for in anticipation of having to vote on the appointment of 3 interim city administrators at the meeting that night. I emailed the mayor following the rules, requesting employment contracts and benefits info for 6 staff members. I wanted to be able to make an informed decision. And I was told that the staff needed 24 hours. The meeting that night raised additional concerns, as we were told there were no job descriptions. The interim process was led by the city administrator that had already submitted a resignation. There were vague answers to questions. There have been multiple reorganization of staff positions and staff turnover, and a 70% increase in administrative costs. So I emailed the mayor again following the rules on December 7th, and with my expanded request due to the concerns raised at the meeting. She responded that she was adding the city administrator and that I could communicate directly with her, but I should CC the mayor. That was December 7th. After we had that communication, the city administrator responded to my original request, not the expanded request, and the information she sent me wasn't complete. And Pam, I know you just resent that to me again, but it wasn't complete. And it wasn't what I had asked for on December 7th. December 17th, I emailed the mayor telling her that I had not yet received the information. She forwarded it to the 3 interim city administrators and copied the city attorney. I then received an email from the city attorney telling me that I wasn't going through the mayor and I shouldn't be communicating directly with staff, which I was not. January 3rd, I believe, Pam told me that I could come in and go through the files minus the HIPAA information. The next day, January 10th, I emailed Pam to ask if I could go through the files after the SACWA meeting. that was to be held here at City Hall on the 12th. And I received an email from Pam saying that Wednesday wouldn't work and that all requests had to go through the mayor. I had already gone through the mayor multiple times. Then last meeting had the email written by 3 interim city administrators complaining about my ever-changing requests, and it was read at a public meeting. And as of tonight, 56 days later, I still do not have the information that I asked for.
Okay, so here's my question. Why do you need the personnel records of people that you were not, we were not instructed to consider for the 3 people's position?
I just want to know what's going on. We're talking about, we have to hire a city clerk, we have to hire a assistant to the DDA. There's a bunch of things. There's been multiple reorganizations.
So actually you just need a description of what's needed for the city
No,
clerk and
I-
the DDA assistant.
I think,
Because
no, I
as it
think
is-
I think as a city council member who's making
But
determinations
you wouldn't
and
be making
voting on,
determinations for the city clerk in
we,
order for,
we vote on a budget.
but you would not be
Okay.
making a decision
All right.
about the city clerk. I mean, that's just, am I wrong to the attorney? The only thing that we're responsible for as a council is the city administrators.
No, we approved the other people that are hired in the city and we approved the pay and all of those
We-
kinds of
we
things.
do not-
You
So-
approve the department head.
Yeah, the
heads-
department heads, we don't approve other people. Only the department heads.
We
And they
don't
act, and they will interview with the city manager,
Uh-huh.
and then they will extend an offer. And then that will come to us as
Right,
a,
to be
as,
approved.
to be approved.
Mhm.
Now, understand, we also have them as leaders that have gone through the interviewing
Mhm.
for them. And then that's when we can ask the questions. And then they have to go back to the board, I mean, to the drawing board if we deny their recommendation, which would put us behind anyway. So the only thing that we do is approve their recommendation. It doesn't come up with like we're able to have 3 city clerks come up here or 3.
I didn't, I didn't say that. We
I
approved the
never- hold on.
recommendation.
Listen
You
to what
don't
I'm
need to
saying.
explain to me
No,
because I
listen-
understand the
No,
process.
obviously
Yes, I
don't.
do. I
So
do.
listen to what
I
I'm
do.
saying. So 3 people, we wouldn't have 3 city clerks or 3 potential city clerks coming up here
No,
for recommendation.
right?
So the only person, as the city attorney said, we're only responsible for the department head. So in my thoughts, you have no reason to look at any other personnel record, excuse me, because one, I wouldn't want someone looking at my social security.
But
I
it's
wouldn't-
it's public record.
I don't think somebody's social security
Government-
number is public record.
Government,
There are exemptions. So normally an individual council person or otherwise that would request this type of information would have to do it through a FOIA request.
okay, someone
Now-
should have told me that. I would have.
I think I did tell you. that in
No, you
December
didn't. That
17th.
was 56 days ago. Kelly told me that she would get it to me. No
But
one
you
ever
just said
I had to
last
do
week
a
that
FOIA.
you were offended, remember? So you did get a FOIA. We did
I
tell you.
didn't get a, no, I didn't.
No, listen to what I'm saying. I said last week at our meeting, you were upset because you had to do a FOIA. So this week you're saying you didn't get the request to do a
I
FOIA?
didn't get a request to do a FOIA. I didn't say that at the
Okay.
last meeting.
Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, if you'd like me to send copies of I do have copies of all of the emails. and
So it would have
stuff.
been December
people would like
17th
to
that
do
I
that.
responded.
And we talked about it
indicating
last
that
week
that
at the meeting.
information Would
Awesome.
normally be requested under, would be required to be requested under FOIA. There's
Right.
Exemptions under FOIA that would preclude a public body from disclosing the personnel information or stuff that, or information contained in the personnel file if it was sensitive in nature or potentially embarrassing to that individual. It's a balancing test that, if challenged, the city would have to argue that the disclosure of that information would be more prejudicial than probative. So, but again, if it's something that the council is looking for, if it's information that council wants to be able to make a decision about hiring an interim administrator, then that request should come from the council. It should be discussed at the council meeting. It's not a fishing expedition to try and find information or dirt on individual council members or whatever
Why do
the
you think
purpose
it's
may be.
finding dirt?
That's what you
why
said in the
did-
email.
I
You
did
said,
not say in the email.
you said in the email, why are you, what do you all
Yeah,
have to
what are you,
hide?
exactly, what,
Exactly.
like what,
So-
like, what is the big deal? We were asked to approve $48,000 for each of 3 individuals. That's a lot of money
So
in a
I
small.
get that, but here's where we are. we already, everyone except you approved it. And so that's already a done deal. It's a done deal unless someone
I
rescinds it.
actually did approve it. I'm just saying, it
But
was
see, you approved so that
irresponsible.
you are able to do your job
it was-
without seeing the
no,
description
it-
because
no,
you
I
approved
wasn't.
it.
It
And
was-
that's you saying, yes, I approve these
It
for me
was
to get that.
irresponsible on my part to vote yes without knowing what people were making, what their job duties were, and what their qualifications were. That's irresponsible.
Well, it's a done deal on that one.
Okay,
So
whatever.
going
Kelly,
backward, and
if I was supposed to do a FOIA, someone should have told me that
We did tell
56
you on
days,
December
56
17th.
days ago.
we told you December 17th.
Okay.
So if you want to forward that email to Councilman.
Well, then what
Miller,
was the point of going through you if that
you
dragged
can
out?
forward the
for 10
email from
days.
December 17th to Ms. Miller, please.
The issue I have is not one, I mean, if we need the information, we need the information. If there's a request of information, we should get that request. The problem I have is legality aside, it just doesn't seem appropriate for any one of the five of us to be going through somebody's personnel file. And this is, kind of leads back to.
Okay, I asked for information. Pam told me that I could do it. I never said I want to
Can
go
you-
through
can
people's
we-
personnel
Can
files.
we, well, yeah, you did.
No,
ask to
I
go through
didn't.
her Personnel file, that's what you, was that not it, Pam? That you requested to go through the personnel files of everyone who worked here on this side of the building,
I didn't ask to go through personnel files.
2017, you just said it.
Please pass this down. It's not, I was asking questions. It wasn't asking to go through personnel files.
Pass this down to who?
Pam told me, whoever wants it, he would like to.
I mean, you only gave one, so I'm just asking.
I
do you
have,
wanna-
a bunch
so
of
give
them.
me the rest of
I
them
would
so we
like
can all
this to
get
go
them.
into the
There you go.
record, actually.
Thank you.
Now, as I was
Is that
saying,
another
Go
one?
ahead.
my question is the
Give it to
appropriate.
Scott.
appropriateness
There you go.
of-
I never asked to
Can you
go.
let him finish, please, just once, please?
This
Thank you.
is my issue. This is my
But
request.
he was saying, I'm just being courteous to
Yeah,
other
okay.
people to talk.
Mhm.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, again, the regardless of, it doesn't seem appropriate that any of us, should be in the personnel file. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the end of the meeting, last meeting, is, again, a request like that fosters, again, more of this toxicity. I mean, I've had other staff, other than the three of them, have said, why does Councilwoman Miller want to get in my file? Why does, I don't want her seeing where I live. I don't want to see her see my social security number. So.
I
again,
didn't ask to do that, so please stop having conversations about something that I never asked for.
We still would have to redact all their social security numbers, all their.
I didn't ask to
addresses,
go,
things.
I didn't ask to look in a file.
would
That
have
was
to.
your
But you're also
suggestion,
asking,
Pam.
you were asking.
I asked
their-
for a name, dates of employment or engagement, salary, benefits, perks, job description for all positions held, requirements for positions held, work and educational experience that matches the requirements, copies of application and supporting documentation, performance evaluations, promotions and effective dates, salary increases and reasons for increases, hazard pay bonuses, reasons for leaving, and copies of contracts.
Okay.
And
so
there is
let-
personal information on that stuff.
What is the personal information?
You want their application.
well, excuse me one second.
I'm sorry.
What you're asking them to do is go through all the personnel. This is how I'm hearing it. To go through their record and then fill out your 25 questions for each person, which I would say is a useless use
Kelly, I
of their
sent this to
time.
you on December 7th.
I don't care when
If
you send
was
it, Karen. I'm just saying
inappropriate,
right now,
why
let's-
didn't you tell me?
Let's talk, because we're talking about it now as a council. So we're talking about it as a council. And then I'm gonna pull on Councilman Jennings because he's the only person that went to the new training for the city council people.
Yeah.
And I think he said it last week that we as a body are not supposed to interfere with the day-to-day operations. I'm sorry, you go ahead and explain what from your training that you went to.
Well, yes, from the training, we're not supposed to interfere with day-to-day activity of the city or the city staff. So this would be
Any day-to-day activity.
a violation of that.
No, it is not.
So, okay, so
Again,
What's
if I couldn't have it, if it wasn't appropriate, somebody should have told me
can you
56
please
days
forward
ago.
the December 17th?
Instead,
email? Okay.
well,
And
that
here-
was
and here
because he was
indicates
telling
that's the
me,
email
I'm sorry,
address.
what'd you say? What did you say?
She's referenced it right here. I received an email from city attorney blasting me for
Yeah.
not going through the mayor and communicating directly with staff.
And I had gone through the mayor and she forwarded it to you. I'd gone through the mayor 3 times.
I don't have the record, so all I
Well,
can do
I
is
do.
forward it.
I
No,
do.
no, 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 no. What I'm saying, what you're asking for is I can't give it to you because I don't have it.
Well,
But here's my thing, here's my question on this one. I still don't quite understand why you need access to all the personnel records on the administrative side from
well, there was
2017
a 70
to 2021.
70% increase in administrative costs, for one thing. As I said, we're being asked to hire multiple people.
Mhm.
And so you need to look at the whole big picture of how much is this gonna cost?
So
What
then
is our
that to me
budget?
would be a better question is to ask
Well,
these
I'm
three,
sorry. Well,
these three, let me finish for a
I
second.
have
These-
my own
let me fin-
questions and
let-
you can ask your questions. I can ask my questions. So
Go ahead, you go ahead. and
and if
finish.
they're inappropriate, then I can be told that, but
Just go
I
ahead.
was not.
Go ahead, Councilwoman. Finish your question.
That's fine. Again, I was just, last meeting, I was slandered all over the place and I went through the proper channels multiple times. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
You need to submit a FOIA request, requesting,
All
Um,
right,
And I'm
I
sure-
absolutely will do that.
requesting
And,
it.
what's gonna get the response you're gonna get back from a FOIA request is that the city's not required to produce a document that it doesn't already.
Exactly. So,
So
okay,
what is it you want to know? That would be the bigger question.
okay.
Is there something you're looking for specifically?
No. I,
You're just curious.
I'm not just curious. I take this position responsibly. I took an oath to honor the residents, to follow the charter, to be fiscally responsible. And that's what I'm trying to do. If I don't know what the heck's going on and just get these things thrown at us at a meeting, here, vote $48,000 additional for these 3 people. I mean, I was honest when I asked Susie what, I don't know, I haven't seen any kind of, how people meet the requirements of the position.
I mean, I think they've been asked and answered multiple occasions what their roles and functions are.
Right, okay.
It's very difficult to answer a moving target in.
It was not a moving target. It was exactly the same since December 7th. So I documented all here. I will give you a copy.
I have a copy.
Okay, great.
I have a whole.
And I
folder
also
full of
wanted to
emails.
go into the record of the meeting, so.
So where do we stand right now? We're not gonna rescind the 3 of them and unless someone's gonna vote to rescind the additional salary and having them to do the 3. Otherwise, that was unanimous for the increase for the 3 city administrators and for them to take the position, unanimous. Right? So, I think we do need to have, and actually, I don't even know why we do need to have to be quite truthful, the ethics and the maybe policies and procedures, because I don't know who Councilwoman Miller will believe is what we should do according to the laws of the state of Michigan. I don't know what to do. Ask the city attorney, sort of. I mean, I don't know why I don't. All of us have something else to do, and all of our time is very, very precious. To have a meeting regarding the ethics and the policies and procedures, and then they're still not going to be followed because a council person never believes what is being said per the law,
I
but-
followed them.
or per what was taught to us, people that attended the actual training to become, a newly elected person.
I
how
was an
do you-
elected person
how
for
do
14
you-
years.
For the school board, but not for city
And it
council.
was a much bigger deal than this, believe me, much bigger budget.
I think this is a pretty
Way
big deal.
more-
I love
way
this
more
city.
people.
So
I
anyway,
love this city also, but.
well, okay. I don't
So
see,
this isn't the school board.
right.
Okay, and while certainly, yes, the school board is a public body, they have a very high budget. We heard about, well, we didn't hear about tonight, but we've heard about it in the past,
Oh,
all the
yes.
money that they've spent.
And we follow
That is so,
open
can
meeting
you
act.
finish? That's so
So,
rude to keep
What
it
what
interrupted.
we're trying to create is getting solutions, because we're not getting any solutions. We're getting a lot of problems that you've identified.
Uh-huh.
And again, And
Like a
again,
$20,000 bill for something that was absolutely unnecessary
I
and a
100%
total waste of
agree with
money.
that.
What's
And
that?
I think we all agreed with
No,
you.
but you all voted on it and it was your recommendation.
No, we just voted no,
$5,000.
that we voted for $5,000. We did not vote for
But I'm
that.
talking about the process and procedure.
And the only reason it went to the outside is because of inquiries from yourself and Councilwoman Canes.
Oh, Ours
That is ultimately why.
was cut and clear, very
Because you-
clear.
You indicated that the city staff and consultants could not be trusted. They did not know what they were talking about. And that there was some underlying conspiracy out there that the city was orchestrating.
There was a
And despite a
violation.
bunch of other people telling you otherwise, you
Oh
continue to
my
believe that something went on that was illegal or violated state election law.
You did violate Michigan election law.
I'm still waiting for that proof.
Okay.
God, I'm so
Because-
sick of hearing about this.
Yeah, good.
No,
If
because
you
this
have
is
evidence,
absolutely
submit
ridiculous.
it.
Right, to who?
To Chief McKee.
No.
Send it to
We'll
the
get you
Attorney
the
General
Attorney
again.
General's email.
Maybe they'll
Send
respond
it
this
to
time.
them and let's be done with this and
You
move
can call the
forward.
sheriff's department, can't you? And you give all the
Sheriff's
information
Department
to.
would be my first phone call.
Okay,
I would
so,
investigate.
And that, I think
I
we
mean,
talked
if
about
you
that.
continue, I'll tell you right now, Councilwoman, you continue to insinuate that I broke the law, I will sue you personally. And you, anybody else is here as my witness. I'm done with it. I did nothing illegal. I did not break the law. So if you've got something to show me that I did, bring it.
I'm so thoroughly upset that we have gotten to this as a council. I mean, it is so, to be on this council for 12 years, it has never, ever been like this. And I'm in awe that this is what we're doing. We're talking about something that happened in November. We're talking about getting all the personnel records. Let's just keep it really real, that you want the personnel records of everyone that Cheryl Mitchell hired. I just don't, and I can't wrap my head around why we can't say, hey, give this to the sheriff, give this to Dana Nestle's office. Here is the proof. I don't even care if it's true or not. Give it to them and say, we're done with it. So we, as a council and as a city, can just move forward because, again, just like what the city attorney said, we are now, it's late and we have to go and keep talking about the same thing since November.
Actually, since July.
Well, I'm sorry.
November
Well,
as
we
being
just
a
got a
council
bill
person.
for it, so it's still continuing.
But we all unanimously agreed with you, Karen, that you are right. We should not be paying over $5,000. That is what we agreed to. That's what the previous council agreed to, $5,000. So you are right, you are right, you are right. We should not be paying over $5,000. And that's why we all unanimously voted it down.
But that was done because of Barb and I, because we were told it was done because of multiple other people.
There were
So,
multiple
let me-
inquiries, but ultimately, there were two individuals that were repeatedly insinuating that there was some conspiracy at hand and that the city was involved with it. And you specifically indicated that the city officials couldn't be trusted. And I think in the past, you've used the phrase outsiders, that we are outsiders and we can't be trusted. And so that's why the recommendation was that the review wasn't going to come internally. It was going to come from an outside qualified firm, which would come at a premium cost because Butts Along is a premium law firm.
So again, I don't think that we should waste anyone's time in trying to do policies and procedures because they're not going to be followed.
Regardless, the policies and procedures need to be in place.
Yes,
And
they
if
do.
council members want to have input on it, the rules that they're governed by, that I think is the best way to achieve it. If specific council members don't want to participate, then that's their choice. They don't have to.
Right,
But they will be held to the same standards that all other council members are.
I think the importance of the policies and the procedures and the ethics ordinances is, as Scott indicated earlier, barring a felony, we have no repercussions whatsoever if procedures aren't followed and if they're violated. So I think once we agree on the procedures and the ethics, that'll spell out what repercussions and what, escalate, how do you refer to this, escalating the escalation process,
disciplinary
similar to what the police have, so that we can get back on track and we can stay on track and keep moving forward with city business and not constantly going back and debating, all of these procedural or procedural violations.
I have another one, sorry.
What'd you say?
I said I have another one. Yeah.
Another one, what?
Violation, I think, of the charter.
Of us doing a violation?
This, section 7.6, it says requires the affirmative vote of 4 members of the council for the effectiveness thereof. Appropriating any money requires at least 4 people to vote.
Okay, so if you're talking about their
No,
increase,
I'm
that
not
was
talking
5.
about that. Where I'm
Okay, what are
talking
you
about,
talking about?
I'm talking about the paving of adding to the 2022 paving. That was 3 to 2. No, what?
No, I just didn't know where that just came from. I had.
The recommendation that we passed last time.
So you know what, we're talking about council information requests and concerns.
Mhm.
When it gets to the council comments, then you can
Okay,
save all
okay.
those for
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
That was an expenditure request.
We're gonna save that for council comments. And if someone could send out a doodle poll for 3 dates for us to come together to do a workshop for ethics and policies and procedure.
I will send that out this week.
And regarding the council information requests and concerns, do you have an actual form that you can give Councilwoman Canes? I'm sorry, so sorry, Barb, I'm totally confused. Councilwoman Miller, we can give her the actual document. Is there a document for
The
FOIA?
FOIA request.
Okay, so if you can forward that to her.
You don't have to do that. It's on the website. I'll get
If you
it.
could forward that to her so she can have it. And so you have a record of sending that to her also. Is there any other council information requests and concerns to discuss? For the council information request? Sure. Nope, that's gonna be under the mayor and council comment. Okay? Do you have any requests that you have that you need to?
Maybe this, I'll wait till the other one. I don't know if this probably will take it away.
Okay, so now then we'll move on to public comment. Again, per Robert's Rules of Order, there will be no dialogue or debate from the council members to the public. However, any council person can note and refer back to whatever was said during public comment during the council comments, and that is per Robert Rules of Order. You also will be limited to 3 minutes. Hilda will be the person that's going to be timing the time. And this is whatever is your pleasure. And I do see that trustee Amani Johnson from Southfield School Board is the first one that I saw up.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start by saying that we have the number 9 public high school in Michigan right here in Lathrup Village, number 7 in Metro Detroit. I find it completely inappropriate and offensive that you as a public body would move forward with a resolution to support bringing a private school into our community. There was never any effort to communicate with the school board on this issue. The only reason we're aware is because your liaison reached out to us with sentiments of being ambushed by this resolution. Board president expressed the desire to have a joint meeting about the property, as well as our upcoming capital bond efforts. Yet you still voted in favor of this resolution tonight. What is your rush? What is the point of having a future conversation if you've already made up your minds? We want to be collaborative and we want to engage Lathrup Village students and families, but behavior like this makes it that much more difficult. I see no respect for public education or for the school district, and I'm deeply disappointed. Thank you to those who voted no. This won't be the last you've heard on this topic, and we won't forget. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see to go to Kim. Okay, Kim Hodge.
Hi, I have lived in Lathrup Village, Kim Hodge, 27580 California Drive Southeast. lived here for almost 30 years. This is the first time I'm making a comment of this sort in this kind of meeting. Prior to the election, I was very concerned about the level of animosity that I saw among people. I went to the session at City Hall that was outside. I asked that question, how were people who felt very strongly and felt very differently going to work together in the future? And I'm seeing that it's not being successful. I'm really appalled, I'm shocked, I'm saddened, deeply saddened, because I love this community. I think the level of animosity and vitriol is abhorrent, and you all have to find a way to work together. I implore you to search your hearts, do something that you're leaving a legacy behind that your families would be proud of, your children, your parents, your spouses, your friends. I don't see that happening among these meetings. We have to bring our best selves to these meetings with a clear heart, a clear conscience, a clear mind. Stop fighting. It feels like Washington, D.C. Oh, yuck. You've got a lot on your plates. The city is a great city, but we need to move forward, not backwards. And respect, kindness, preparedness, focus on the task, rule of law and civility are key. Please keep this in mind as you go forward. Please find a place in your hearts. Search yourselves to say, are you doing the best that you can do each and every day? Are you trying to find common ground with each other? What legacy are you creating? And heal these wounds that are evident. I mean, I'm not proud. I will say, as a resident of Lathrup Village, I am not proud of my community leaders right now. And y'all are elected to represent us well, and I'd like you to do your best and be good role models, please. Peace.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mary.
You want to come right here.
Hi, Mary Lou Resnick. I'm a lifelong resident, 59 years, 1880 San Jose, Lathrup Village. I love this place so much. I've known you forever. I love you guys. I've never really had a conversation with you. I am appalled. I can't even believe it, which is why I came today, because I heard it. I am so upset that one of my good friends was threatened. She just attended a meeting to get out of the city with her kids and stuff. What is going on? You know, and you surround like in this social thing. I don't know why we can't get along. I mean, it's so sad. And I had a conversation with probably 30 people today. A lot of them are disappointed in the vote and how it came out because they thought it was going to be different. They had hopes. There were promises made. You're the best choice. It's not working. It's not working. And I'm most disappointed in the people that I've known for the longest, because people I looked up to because I was younger, you know? So I'd like to do better in this history. I'm appalled that anybody would want to dig through anybody else's history of work.
Wow, this really turned into
this is
something.
a Robert rule again.
So, I mean, I have that in my own job where I'm like, no, that's not okay. So anyways, I'm gonna echo what Kim had said. Whatever you do, meditate, pray. Please go to the classes so when you come to work, you know what to do and what comes next. I go to the meetings because I'm just a resident and I know the order of what's going on. When I don't know, I ask. I don't want to lose any more valuable people that I love that work the city here. You guys don't get enough credit for all the stuff you have to juggle. And I loved our city manager. I'm devastated that she left. I understand it. Please fix this. Please fix this or give us an alternative. So we, as the residents, because you want it to be in residents' hands, we can take it back, our choices, and change it. if that's an option, because this is bad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next. Hi, my name is Elaine Mantinen. I spoke last week, and I think it was the second meeting I spoke at. So like him, I haven't spoken out at meetings a lot, but it is very, as others have said, very disheartening to see the city attorney being yelled at, staff members being disrespected. We've been sitting in the other room where there, we see staff members coming out, giving breaths, crying. I mean, this is just not how anybody should be treated at their workplace. Anything better. And I think that we're rehashing things, we're fighting about things, and instead of doing things we need to do to move the city forward. I mentioned last week too, I think that it's just not, it's not fiscally responsible, it's not responsible on any level to be just dragging up personal issues of the past. It should be moving forward, we should be working together, we should be doing better. And I was actually very impressed at the beginning of the meeting. I had some people who were like, this is boring. This is boring. Okay, but this is what the city council meeting should be. It should be somewhat boring stuff, right? This statute or this thing that, you know, not that many people are super interested in, except maybe Bruce, because he's like really nerdy about some of the infrastructure stuff. But, you know, it's going really well. And I think that everybody was capable of doing that, right? There was very good questions asked. I thought about the school discussion, that I had similar questions and things like that. And I think it's possible to have a good discussion, to move this or the agenda forward, but then we can also see what happens when we just evolve into this personal issue, yelling, insulting people, and, you know, I know what kind of city that I want to see and be a part of, and I hope that everybody can make that same decision and make that happen too. Because it's very hard to sit there and see, you know, people walking out crying and people upset and people hurt, you know, and I know what I felt like when, you know, people are talking about my kids and it's just, you know, it's hurtful. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the hallway or on? I don't think anyone else online.
There's no one else in the meeting place, and I do not. Do a quick double check there. There is no one else in the Zoom for public comment.
Okay. So we will, if someone comes in or was trying to get in, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, so now for mayor and council comments. I will say something, and it's only going to be regarding the school, and to make it really clear for everyone. I didn't just vote for us to open a school. I did not do that. I voted to cooperate with a property owner and the person that the property owner is dealing with. And again, as we said at the very beginning, to provide information as we would give to any entity that would ask us to give them information about the building or whatever site. So one thing that I can say for the last 12 years with Lathrup Village and the Southfield Public Schools, and that's one thing I am glad to have Karen on the council for, is there was not a good relationship between the schools and Lathrup Village. Numerous, when I ran back in 11, I think, numerous people asked me, could they, what was it? Because I know you were here at that time. We had a couple of meetings, or from what I can remember, because I know it was more, on how to separate Lathrup from the Southfield Public Schools. And that is archived, and I would encourage you to look it up sincerely, because there was residents that came to us and asked that to be part of either Berkeley or Oak Park. And so when I came on council, I asked for a Southfield Public liaison. What was that?
Birmingham and Berkeley.
Pardon me?
Birmingham, you wanted to go to at one point before your time.
So I asked for, thank you for the correction, for a school, Southfield Public School liaison, because I do think when you have a good public school, you attract people to your community and your property values go up. I believe in that. So then we had regular meetings at one time. Well, at least once a
I think
year.
we had 2 meetings. I know that former council member Ferguson had reached out multiple times trying to have follow-up information.
The last
and
time he
was
reached
not-
out was August 17th, 2020, and no one responded to him.
So it wasn't until the discussion of another school that Southfield Public Schools once again became interested.
So, and I'm not trying to, and just know that I'm not trying to badmouth Southfield Public Schools. I'm just trying to say there has been an outreach to have a relationship with Southfield Public Schools. I'm really happy to see that trustee Monty Johnson, I'm sorry, I can't see you, Mr. J, is on here. I am very disappointed because I did kind of take that as a threat to say what was said, because I think that if we're connected to Southfield Public Schools, let me back that up. One thing that we asked, and I cannot remember who the superintendent was before Dr. Green.
Linda Wood.
Thank you. We asked Linda Wood, and then the superintendent before that, which was, I can see her face.
Wanda Cook Robinson.
Thank you.
And I was on the school board at that point. And we
And so
did
was
have
Mike-
relationships.
And so was Michael Poole, because I think we asked Michael Poole to come here. The one question we asked each time we had a meeting was, how many Lathrup Village children, what's the percentage of children that goes to Southfield Public Schools? To this day, and correct me if I'm wrong, no one's answered that. And I was really excited. I will say this because you did come before, and I'm saying this to trustee Imani. They came before, and as soon as something was like a threat, they came and they told us about the wonderful things that Southfield Public Schools was doing. And then we didn't hear again. The last meeting, like I said, was November 4th, 2019. I will say that I think he's trustee now, correct me if I'm wrong, trustee Hicks did reach out, but unfortunately, when he reached out, I just had lost my son. So I forwarded the email to Dr. Mitchell. I don't know what happened, because guess what? I'm sorry, I was out for a month. But the fact is, he's the only person that has reached out thus far, which we just said we're gonna have a meeting between the two. So I'm just saying all that to say, it was not an approval of saying a school that we just approved a school, or we didn't approve a school. It was to cooperate. And honestly, the school that's next door is private property, and they can actually do whatever they want to, via laws and ordinance. They can do whatever they want. It's a private entity. And I see that Ian is now on there.
Yeah.
But Ian, when you come on though, might have to give
Hey
you
there.
2 minutes. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ian Ferguson, 28836 Lathrup Boulevard. So just to clarify on the school issue. So I met with the school board on the September 20th, right? Or September 2020. And also I met with the school board again prior to leaving council December of 21. And I basically extended an olive branch stating, please continue the conversation. Please continue open dialogue with Lathrup Village City Council. We believe in what you're doing over there, and we want to continue to strive in the right direction. So in parallel to that, for 6 years, I've worked to try to fill that Annie Lathrup school with something. I spent every single month meeting with the Surnows. You all know that. I did not deviate from that. So that's a private owner, private company. He could do whatever he wants. If he wants to sell it and we open a school, what else can we do? We can't let blighted buildings sit around, especially so close to City Hall. So that's my statement on that. My other statement, Scott Baker, please read my official statement that I texted to you today. I am not going to speak on that issue personally, but I need you to read that and write it into the record, please. Last statement, I would have to agree with Kim Hodge, and I said it last week. You all have to figure out a way to work with each other. 3 council people that are voting to move the city forward. God bless you. I'm proud of you. Keep doing that. If the other 2 don't want to do it, leave them behind. We got to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's all that I had to do with the school, but I look forward for us to sit down and talk with the Southfield School Board. And because we have new members, I'm really hopeful that we can have a working relationship. I have not changed my mind on that. Regarding everything else, which everyone's comment, I do really hope and pray that we don't have to agree, because that's not how democracy works, but to be respectful and to hear each other messages out and working together is something that I really hope for. I don't know what else that I can do. I have apologized. I have extended the olive branch. I have, tell me what I can do, differently. What is it that you would like me to do differently, short of me quitting, because I'm not. So what can I do just to be a better person? Because I know I do have some weaknesses and some faults. And you and I, we can talk about that at some point, or, you put me on blast. It doesn't, I'm thick skinned. So that's all that I have to say. I'm really sorry to the residents that this is where we're at. And I know that I will try very hard to do better, and I will, to Kim Hodges' point, bring my best self each time we come to meetings and emails and everything. I hope.
Council comments as well.
Go ahead.
Regarding Amonte's comments,
Amani.
Amani's comments earlier. Back in 2019, the council was very frustrated with the school board. We kind of felt like we were neglected and we were always treated as an afterthought. And we had Councilman Ferguson reach out to the school board to set up a meeting with them, which took place on November 4th, 2019. We kind of aired our grievances. We had a really good meeting. There was good discussion. And we generated a good list of follow-up items for the school system. I personally asked for, they came to us that day and they gave us some great statistics about the academy, but I asked for statistics about outside of the academy and in total, never got it. We talked about potentially changing the name to include Lathrup in the school system name. Never heard anything back on that. We talked about liaisons or having a student liaison join our council. Never heard anything back from that. We asked for regular updates. We haven't gotten them. As Kelly indicated, we asked for statistics on the percentage of Lathrop residents, children that are actually attending Southfield schools. Never got that. We asked for a marketing campaign to Lathrop residents to promote the school and the successes, because we hear constantly, and during this election cycle, as I went door to door, I heard the same thing. Can't we go to Berkeley? Can't we go to Birmingham? And I would tell them we've got good success at the schools, but I can only speak to the academy because, again, I never received any data. The only follow-up that we got from that meeting was all the council members were included on the newsletter that the Southfield Public Schools produces. Other than that, everything that we asked for was ignored. So I find it really, really frustrating that we've reached out and constantly get this neglect because we're a small little community relative to the overall size of Southfield. But the second there's a potential challenge to a few butts in the seats, all of a sudden the school board shows up at our meeting and it has a concern. And as Kelly said earlier, we didn't just vote to approve a school, we just voted to approve a resolution that encourages the process like we would do for any other business. So I find it disingenuous, and I hope that through Councilwoman Miller, we'll get the school system here and we can talk about these things and get some of these, get some more regular communication and dialogue going between us and them, because we need to be partners, not an entity that's neglected, because our children go there too. Those are my comments.
Okay. Is there anyone else that will have comments? Council comments?
I do. I have a couple of things. Ironically, Southfield Lathrop graduates Dear Council Member Karen Miller, please accept this letter as a way to express our interest in working with you to offer dynamic basketball opportunities to the current and future residents of Lathrup Village. It is because of your longstanding commitment to uplifting the community that we believe this partnership could be a game changer for your youth and young adult population. Overtime can be defined as a full-service basketball organization specializing in fundamental skill development through progressive on-court instruction. With nearly 2 decades of hands-on experience working closely with our athletes and other like-minded organizations, we have successfully managed to build a respectable reputation in the basketball community driven by our passion and integrity. Our partnership not only would allow us to share our knowledge with rising stars, but also afford us an opportunity to serve the neighborhoods in which we were raised. Led by former Lathrup Village residents, professional athletes, and heavily awarded high school standouts, Greg Grays and Antoine Johnson, our program would help engage a generation of eager players while simultaneously using basketball as a tool to motivate impressionable young boys and girls with the purpose of enhancing their discipline, leadership, skills, and teamwork abilities. The initiative we are proposing will feature 3 main components: clinics, camps, and leagues. These events can be offered year-round and will also encourage families to become more active within the community. To properly execute our vision, we're kindly asking for your assistance, securing a suitable facility and marketing the programs to your audience. In return, we would be willing to help with renovations to upgrade the space and implementation of any future projects. We hope that you find our proposal to partner with you beneficial and necessary. Overtime was created to give hope to athletes and direction to their ambition, but we can't do it alone. It would be our honor to have your support and cooperation because together we can change the landscape of basketball in Lathrup Village and beyond. Thank you for your time in advance, and we look forward to being your teammate for many seasons ahead. Sincerely, Antoine R. Johnson, founder, Overtime Training Company, Southfield Lathrup, class of 1999. Since we don't have a Parks and Rec department, I'm not quite sure where this would go, but as he said, Antoine and his partner Greg graduated from Southfield Lathrup. They played overseas. Antoine has a overtime ring in New York, so something that I wanted to introduce. I think it's something that we need. I don't even think we have any outdoor basketball courts in Lathrup Village, which so they are willing to work with us, try and do things through Parks and Rec if that gets up and going, and to offer to work with their old hometown. And then I also have, I'm proud to help bring Southfield Lathrup class of 1998 alum Anthony McGlawn to perform at Conversations and Cocktails, February 12th at 7:00 p.m. at the Southfield Pavilion. This is part of Southfield Celebrates Black History Month, Conversations and Cocktails. Anthony calls me his choir mom. I had the immense pleasure of watching Anthony's musical talent bloom from being in the Southfield Lathrup Madrigals, school musicals, and choir competitions to seeing him perform during the pandemic on TV with the Metropolitan Opera and Porgy and Bess. After graduating from Southfield Lathrup, Anthony went on to Morehouse College, where he earned a BA. He earned a master's degree from UNI. He has made world debuts with both Lyric Opera of Chicago and San Francisco Opera. Anthony is a much sought-after soloist, recitalist, and lecturer, specializing in the Negro spiritual and work of African-American composers using them for social justice. So I hope that you will visit the City of Southfield's website for information on buying tickets. That's it.
Thank you. You have anything?
Yes, I guess that would go in conjunction with that, as I am the liaison for recreation. Somebody stepping up, I know with your responsibilities, or what, should I just have people reach out to me because they volunteered about the activities? I don't know how I should.
I mean, I'm certainly willing to, take on, what I can for Parks and Rec. I think that would be awesome to have a basketball program. I know youth programming has been something that our previous Parks and Rec coordinator, Chris Clough, had some challenges. We'd have interest, and then we'd coordinate programs, and then they'd ultimately not have registrants. So I know that was a challenge for them. So I guess I think it would be fantastic to have some programming. I'm contemplating where we would host specifically basketball right now, but that's just on top of my mind, but sure.
And then the residents that reached out to me were concerned with the upcoming activities, like the Easter Bunny and all that. How does, without the recreation, will one of you be stepping in? And as the director, do you want, I mean, the liaison, I do know of people who said they volunteer, but I don't know how to get that part of it going.
So Pam has participated in Breakfast with the Bunny for many years. So and I'm sure that the DDA will be, I mean, the DDA has been taking on several of the different community events, our Breakfast with Santa, Fall Fest, those kinds of things, since they are occurring in the district. So I'm sure that the DDA promotions committee will start kind of brainstorming some of these things at their February meeting. As the rec advisory committee liaison chair, I encourage you to call me the recreation advisory committee. I can get you the names of those individuals, and I know that that's a very active group, and they're very involved in planning many of the events under Chris's direction.
Some
So
of the events, then they go to you, or
it's been a partnership. The rec advisory committee and DDA have had a partnership in our working relationship. So I envision that kind of partnership to continue. It's not necessarily, at least in the past, when we've been staffed, it's not been, hey, this is all rec, and hey, this is just DDA. It's just been very much working together to make these events happen. So
I think so. Look for a meeting in February.
DDA promotions meetings will be, it's the third Thursday in February, so that's when the TDA promotions meetings are. I don't know off the top of my head if the Recreation Advisory Committee had a standing meeting date for those meetings.
And how would
I can get you the names of those individual
Yeah,
names
is
and
there room
contact
for
information.
more? Like you said, I've had other residents be involved, so I don't know how to get them involved. I mean,
There is the same application that the DDA members filled out for their appointment. That's actually a universal application for all boards and committees in the city. And so there should be a checkbox on there, I believe, for Recreation Advisory Committee. So any resident that's interested in serving on that committee can certainly fill out an application, submit it to, well, technically it goes to the clerk, so Kelda and I will get it and forward that on. I don't know at this point how many members are on the Recreation Advisory Committee, or if there's a limit. It's certainly something to look into. So
one other question, and I've already talked to Kelda, but I know I came Friday late, and I did reach out to her via text or via email, and I don't know. And I didn't know she was off. I did come in, Pam got me my packet, and I got what I needed done. But is there like one person to reach if you need something over here, that it doesn't just go to voicemail, or would I just call one of you? I mean, it wasn't urgent, and I just thought, oh, it's getting close to the end of the day. Maybe she didn't get my message. I just didn't. I mean, I go through the prompts and I think I'm going to the right person, but then the right person's off for a funeral. So what's plan B when something like that happens?
I mean, you can certainly reach out to any one of the three of us.
Okay. And I did. I showed up.
Right.
You helped me, but I just wondered.
And if it's, I mean, if you or any other council person would like a packet printed, I mean, I know Councilman Cantor, Pro-Tem Cantor, always wants he always wants his packets printed. So if that's just something that you would like, then we'll just make a note and we'll have packets printed. So
that'll be a standing order from me.
All right, and those will just be, we'll have those printed out and have them in your inbox. Councilman Jennings, would you like a printed packet? Or
No,
play it
only
by
when
ear?
only when I, when
All
I
right.
reach out to you. I'm good.
Councilwoman Miller, would you like a printed
Yeah,
packet?
I
Okay.
requested part Previously, thanks.
Anything else? Anything? You wanna pick on? Do you want to read anything into the record? Is it slanderous
I mean,
or anything like that? Because if it's.
No, I mean, I did receive a communication from former council member Ferguson. I don't really know why I would have read it into the record. I can if you'd like. It just deals with his, he's
Aren't you, can
making
you,
an official statement on his position regarding dissemination of the city's financial status.
can you just send it, in an email? And you put it, you just, put it in next week's package. So it can just be written to, I don't think that it's really appropriate to send it to you to read it.
It's not really relevant to anything,
Okay,
but
well.
it just.
Okay, well then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, we are adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.